it's Jenny here from Heart of a Mother. Today I'm going to share with you why we homeschool. I think this is a really important question for all homeschoolers to answer because it affects everything that we do. It affects the curriculum we choose, the priorities we place on outside activities, the environment in our home. So why do I homeschool? Well, I have two answers to that. Someone asks me that I don't know well. My first answer is, well, I was a public school teacher and didn't like what I saw, which is entirely true. I taught for 3 years before I quit to have children, and it was a very enlightening 3 years. There were a lot of things about teaching in the public schools that I loved. It was an amazing experience to touch so many lives, or try to, and to succeed with a couple. It was very challenging, however, to deal with the non-instructional part of public school, the bureaucracy, the discipline issues, the kids who just didn't have the support that they needed to be successful in the classroom, and the inability that I felt to reach them was humbling and discouraging. And so I didn't want my kids to be in that situation. Not to mention all the exposure of the culture and the mentality of things that are just against our Catholic faith that I did not want to put them into. So my short answer is because I was a public school teacher and didn't like what I saw. And because when we started homeschooling, there was no way we could afford Catholic school. I know there are some areas where Catholic schools are affordable, but in a lot of places they're not, and that just wasn't an option for us at the time. So we decided to homeschool. But the longer answer is that we had several friends when we first got married, even when we were dating, that homeschooled their kids. It was a small college town where we lived, and so people didn't have as many schooling options. Maybe homeschooling seemed more prominent, and these were really solid Catholic families who were homeschooling their kids. And so we knew them personally, we saw their kids, we were impressed with how well their kids behaved, with how articulate they were, and how they were able to communicate with adults and children. And in knowing the parents, we learned kind of how they homeschool and what kind of things their kids were learning about, which sounded amazing compared to what we had seen in the public schools. So it was a very positive interaction, but I didn't quite think we would homeschool. And we always went back and forth from the time our youngest was born until we made the decision when she was in kindergarten age to actually start homeschooling. And the reason that decision came about is because we were in an area where I did not like the public schools, and the Catholic schools, while outstanding, were not affordable in the financial situation we had. And so we thought we would give homeschooling a try, but I still had a lot of anxiety about it, especially because my oldest at the time was such a strong personality, and she and I didn't always get along and butted heads quite a bit. But one of the things that solidified the decision for me was talking to some of those friends that I had met early in marriage, where we had all tossed around the idea of homeschooling, and we're all pretty sure we would consider it seriously. And in talking with one of those friends, I found out that they decided to put their oldest in a public school setting. And when asked why, they said because we didn't get along and we were constantly butting heads. And I thought, that sounds like me. And so I took it to prayer, thinking maybe I really should lean more towards public school than homeschooling. But when I took that to prayer, what touched my heart in my back and forth dialogue that I hope God was a part of, and I believe God was a part of, is I didn't feel good about pushing away the child that needed to be ministered to, that needed to be reached. And I saw it as I see many things in life as a personal challenge, that I could bring that child closer, keep that child closer instead of separating us. Now, that was the right decision for our family, because here we are 13 years later and she's graduating high school in a few weeks. For the other family, that was the right decision for them too. So I do not believe that homeschooling is for everybody. I do believe that kids can grow and learn, and relationships can grow and learn outside of a homeschooling environment. But for me, at the moment, that's what God was telling me. He said, this relationship needs to be built upon. Draw them close rather than sending them away. And so that's what we did. And that's where we started. We started with an every year kind of mentality, 1 year at a time. And I learned very early on not to complain about homeschooling to my husband, because his answer was, well, then let's put them in school. Let's fix that. And he meant well, and he's a great fixer. He wants to solve the problem that I present in the best way and the simplest way he knows possible. And that has been a blessing in many areas. But for that, I realized, no, I didn't really want to quit homeschooling. I just wanted to solve those problems. And so I was blessed to find other homeschooling moms to talk to. And that really began my journey towards Heart of a Mother and what it has become today. Because I really feel like we need each other. We need to bounce ideas off each other and to hear experiences so we can hear, is this something you've experienced? And then that helps us discern what we should do next. So that was my long answer to why we're homeschooling, because I felt like that bringing that child closer was the right thing to do at that time. And 13 years later, my reason for homeschooling now is because I want to be with my kids, and I want the relationships we've been able to build and the priorities we've been able to instill in them. There are times and many days that I don't want to be around them, but for the most part, the relationships that we have been able to forge through homeschooling, because we spend time together, because we see all the highs and lows, and we have to figure out how to live as a family in those highs and lows. And the lessons that teaches our children, teaches us, are monumental. And so that's why I continue to homeschool, because I can't imagine not being able to see my kids rejoice over a new book. My middle son has just found The Hobbit, and I thought he was a little too young for it, and I wasn't sure his comprehension was up to par, but he's halfway through in 2 days and been reciting the whole story to me. And he's so excited to see that he can share something with his older siblings, because they're both teenagers. And that's just something I would miss. I don't want to miss those things. And I feel like homeschooling right now and for the foreseeable future will be the best thing for our family, because of that priority, because of that relationship that we're building. And that's my favorite thing about homeschooling, is the relationships and getting to know my kids and getting to see them grow into individuals is such a treasure. They don't have the peer pressure that's around them. They don't have the influence of the culture. Many children can do well even in that circumstance, but to watch my kids find their way and figure things out, figure out who they want to be, what kind of people they want to be. I have 2 teenagers now, and it is such a joy to witness their faith and their integrity and their joy and the things that they embrace, and that they're very comfortable with being a weird homeschooler. My son called himself a nerd the other day. He was like, I'm this kind of nerd. And in homeschooling, there's like 3 different types of nerds. And it was fabulous to have that conversation, for him to be completely comfortable with that. So that's my favorite thing, is to experience who my kids are becoming as they grow into young adults, and even the younger ones, and to see them figure out what their strengths are and how they fit in the world is really a great journey. So that's what I wanted to share with everyone today. I wanted to tell you why we homeschooled in the beginning and what I love about homeschooling now, just so you could kind of get to know a little bit more about me. But I really do encourage you to figure out your why. Figure out what is your why right now, And if you've been homeschooling a while, remember, what was that why in the beginning? Because it might have changed, it might have stayed the same. It's possible that you have a whole list of whys, and that's great. Write that down. I really encourage moms to write down that list of why and put it at the front of your homeschool planner or somewhere that you're going to be able to refer to on those really tough days when you're wondering, why am I doing this? Because there are tough days, and that's normal. And there would be tough days if your kid was in public school or private school or charter school. But to know why you chose homeschooling can help ease that and can help remind us that it's a good thing right now, and it is what we chose right now, and to embrace the challenges and move forward. Thanks for listening. Please go to heartofamother.net for more wisdom and experience and tips from me and lots of other mamas who are veteran homeschoolers and want to help. We have a consulting program called Bloom, where we can give individualized support to anyone who needs it, regardless of your curriculum or the ages of your children. No enrollment, just a one-time chat. And we would love to visit with you in that capacity, or you may have found me through my Facebook group, which has been incredibly successful and is such a tremendous resource of thousands of mamas giving their input on curriculum and troubleshooting common problems. So that is at facebook.com/groups/heartofamothermoms. And you can find all those links on my website, heartofamother.net.